Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Chris Cooper, known as a Channel Guy Trader, and I'm reporting to you live from Wall Street Trading's Miami office down in sunny South Florida. Today's date is Saturday, September the 14th, 2013, and here is this week's weekend review brought to you by wallstreettrading.com. Before I get into the video here, just want to give you guys a quick reminder. If you have not been to the website yet, go check it out. The site's wallstreettrading.com. There's a lot of free, informative information on the site for you all out there. And if you're interested in joining our prop firm or trading with us or taking our education course, you can contact me at ccooper at wallstreettrading.com as well for details. Now, I have not been able to do a weekend review video in quite a while, as we've been pretty busy down here at the Miami office getting our education course up and running and different things that are in the works, and I haven't had a chance to do it. So now I'm pretty much back on schedule with everything, and we should be getting these reviews. You all should be getting these reviews going forward every weekend on Saturdays like I was doing before. So just keep that in mind. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel so you can see when these videos come out. At the same time, if you're in the Miami or South Florida area, Broward County, Dade County, Palm Beach County, Boca area, Miami, Coral Gables, Brickell, all these areas, Aventura, whatever area you're in. If you're down here in the South Florida area, you may want to check out our meetup group on meetup.com. It's called Wall Street Trading South Florida. We actually just had our first meetup for the month here today. That's actually why I'm at the office now, because we had our meetup at the office, and we had a good following. A good group of guys came out. We had some professional traders that traded on the floor that had came out. They offered some decent insight on how the institutions trade and order flow and stuff. So it's pretty good. A lot of different views from different style of traders, different professional traders. You may want to come out here and check it out if you're in this area. So aside from that, let's go ahead and get into the charts here. Again, this is a weekend review, so we're going to go over the monthly, the weekly, daily charts, look at different sector rotations. This will be an extended video, so make sure you grab your popcorn, grab your pizza, or just be ready to sit through some good analysis here for the next 20 minutes or so. So let's go ahead and jump into the video. Starting off with the SPY monthly chart, you can see here we have broken above, of course, this big 20-year range, or not 20-year range, but this is a 20-year monthly chart. And you can see back here in 1997, we established this little bottom level right here around 77 on the SPY. We traded to a high of 154 or so. We pulled right back in, and we've pretty much been trading in a range between 77 and 154 since 1997. And now, 2012 here, 2013 here, we broke above that range, and so far we're holding above that range. So we are inclined to be bullish, of course, as we're above these key short-term moving averages, and we're trading above the range. Right, maybe a little bit neutral right now since we're trading sideways, but you can see here the trend is up, and so far for the month we are trading within inside of last month's candlestick here. All right, and the high or the opening price of last month was 169.99, so let's call it 170, and the high of last month on the SPY was 170.97. So those are some key reference levels to look at on the monthly perspective. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the weekly chart, and you can see the weekly chart, we have this nice little upward rising channel. As you guys know, when we hit the top of that channel from our targeted area from the bottom, since we were able to establish this channel with these 3 reference points right here alone, and then draw our duplicate trend line from that bottom channel connected to that little pivot high that we made right there, and this is your upper resistance. You can see we have a nice little upward channel. Now we want to gauge the strength of this chart here, and we can use this upward channel as a reference. All right, so starting off with the weekly, you can see we have this nice little upward price movement, pulled back, formed a nice little pivot down here around 162.60 or so, and we're going to be looking to see if that's the basis off the pivot that we're going to be trading off of now. In other words, we have another A, B, and to see if we're going to get another C move up and take out these highs. So this week we had a nice little bullish week, as you can see. Right, the market on the SPY, we closed the S&P 500 closed above the previous 3-week highs. All right, and I guess you could say previous 4 weeks worth of opening prices. So it's a good week, pretty decent week. The market was pretty slow, so we had some of that fear of Syria come out the market, so the VIX came down and people were buying equities again this week. So we're going to be looking to see if this is going to be an A, B, C move that's in the making here. If we get above 170, if we start holding above 170, we're going to be looking for this the highs of 171 on the SPY to get hit by the end of the month here. And you can see everything's still looking pretty much contained. So now we go into our daily chart. On the daily chart, you can see that nice little upward channel for the year. not on the weekly, but for the year, nice little upward channel as well. Okay, not the same channel I showed you guys in the weekly chart, but this is another one that you have from this year, from taking the low that we made right there in January to the low that we made right there in February to the lows that we made right there in June, and then you have a nice little upward channel that you could draw in there. And looking at this chart, you can see we are back above that key 168 level. That 168 level was from the breakdown that we had right here, which on the ES, the S&P 500 futures, you can see that it looks more like a head and shoulders pattern, not so much here on the SPY, but that was a breakdown. 168 is a level that we want to pay close attention to, and that matches up with 1682 on the ES, which, as you can see here, the head and shoulders pattern that we broke down out of here. That's a neckline. So holding above 1682 on the ES would be pretty good, which translates for us on the SPY holding above 168, which is kind of the similar reference level from the breakdown on the ES is 168. Holding above 168 on the SPY will look pretty good. If we break below 168, you want to watch out for the 167.50 level. If we break below that, we'll have some more levels for you guys to watch in our after the bell market summary videos, which we put out every day after the market closes. All right, but if we break over this week's highs, okay, we'll be looking for a move up here towards 170. We break over 170, then that 171. So we really only have two reference levels to work off of for the top side. Then after that, above 171, it's new price discovery. But 170, 171 are key reference levels to work off of going forward as far as where we can expect to have some resistance at. So we could rally up again early next week a bit there, and then we'll have some resistance right there at 170. All right, so the SPY in general, everything looks pretty decent. Let's go and take a look at the triple Qs, which is the NASDAQ 100 ETF here. Starting off with the monthly, you can see we have this nice clean uptrend that's been in place since March 2009 lows. As you guys know, we are coming into the 61.8% Fibonacci retracement from this little sell-off that we had. This is our high point. This is our low point. We broke above the 50, and I did highlight this. If you guys go back to the videos that we did back here, and I guess this is October or so, or September of last year, we did mention the fact that these Fibonacci levels were coming into play. You can see how last September, I believe that is, we had resistance at that 50%. We broke above it this year, and so far we've been holding above that level. The next target is at 61.8% retracement, which also lines up to where the big breakdown happened back here in 2000. All right, around this 82.25 level. So that level looks pretty good. You see, we had support. That's what we broke down. That's what pretty much caused a whole bear market sell-off in the Nasdaq. And of course, we're on our way towards recovery. The Nasdaq is the only index that has not made new all-time highs, and then hopefully, we can make new all-time highs sometime by next year. I highly doubt we will make new all-time highs this year, but potentially that we can make all-time highs next year if this thing really picks up steam, or not even next year. Let me rephrase that. That's a little bit too ridiculous, I would say. Um, let's just pay close attention to this key 61.8% level. We do not want to get too ahead of ourselves. But the Nasdaq, one thing you should know, of course, is the Nasdaq has not been able or has not made new all-time highs yet like the other indices. But if we can start getting above this 82 level and start holding, well, then we can expect the technology sector or the technology sector, the Nasdaq index, to be the best index to look at for going forward, as it has a lot of potential to make a move back up towards those highs. Okay, and that's why we see a lot of these small technology stocks are starting to make a move back up now. A lot of the semiconductor stocks are coming back into play, and we'll take a look at a couple of those here shortly. Starting off with moving on to the weekly chart of the triple Qs, you can see we have two higher closes on the weekly chart. One little thing to take note of, and at the same time, you can see if I zoom this chart in, we have this nice little pivot low. We have this nice little pivot low that we made right here back in November. Take that pivot low, connect to this little pivot low we had right there, connected to this little pivot low we had right here. And now we can actually draw another steep upward channel on the Nasdaq right here. Right, pretty much taking those two reference points, those three reference points, and connected to this little pivot high just to get some more levels to work off of before we hit that target that we saw on the weekly, or on the monthly, I mean, around that 61.8% retracement, which is around 82.37. The top of this channel could take us up towards, say, up towards say 80 if we keep on grinding above it. We'll see how that plays out. We do have some key reference levels to work off of, but again, weekly chart, nice upward movement. All right, had resistance right here. We broke above it, and now it held as support, so that's pretty good. We had resistance right here in this range, and now we're holding above that level. And now, as long as we can hold above the top of this range, the Nasdaq looks like it wants to go higher, and it looks pretty good. Okay, taking a look at the daily chart, you can see the level that we want to stay above is 77.28. If we break back below 77.28, we could get some back and fill action inside this little channel area right here that we had from the range that we broke above. So we'll see. Holding above 77 will be pretty good if we expect the Nasdaq to move higher. All right, we go ahead and take a look at the Russell 2000 via the IWM, which is the ETF for the Russell 2K. One thing that I was mentioning to the people today at the meetup group was that, the Russell 2000 was the first index to make new all-time highs. It was the leading index, and it's still the leading index. Looks pretty good. Nice little clean up trend on the monthly. Taking a look at the weekly, we had that breakout of the range. As you guys can see, the back test held, right? So prior resistance, now support it held. Nice consolidation on top of the range. We broke out, and we formed a nice little pivot low right in front of that range. So we have a pivot right here, a pivot right here, and a pivot right here. And this is kind of like a little move with a walking it up here. So we'll see how that plays out. Same time on the weekly chart, actually on the weekly chart here. Okay, one thing that I was pointing out as well. Let's see here. On the weekly chart, we have this. No, sorry, not the weekly chart, but on the daily chart, we have this nice little upward channel that we have in play. Let me fix this. Give me 1 second. Nice little upward channel that we have in play. You can see every time, we consolidate sideways inside the channel, they break us out, consolidate signs. Sorry, talking too fast. Every time we have a nice little upward channel, they consolidate us sideways and then break us out, consolidate us sideways, then break us out, consolidation sideways. And they possibly, are, of course, are going to see if we could get that repetitive pattern and see if they are going to break us out. We're above this nice little downward trend line. We're back above 103, and we're forming a nice little tight range above 103. You can see from Tuesday to Friday, we were pretty much trading in the range between 104 and 105. So early next week, if we break above 105 and start holding, you can expect the Russell 2000 to possibly make new highs. We're going to have a powerful week to the top side if we see that Nasdaq make new 52-week highs along with the Russell, which is just right there, make new all-time highs, and the S&P start to go back up towards those highs, and along with the Dow. So we're definitely keeping an eye on these markets. Everything looks pretty good on the weekly chart, on the monthly chart, and on the daily chart. So we definitely are in the camp of looking to buy dips and strong names at key support levels. Taking a look now at the DIA, which is the Dow Jones ETF. I really don't look at the Dow Jones that much, but we did have Goldman Sachs added to the Dow along with Visa and Nike, and I have been getting a lot of requests from people to look at the Dow Jones. So let's start looking at the Dow Jones. I usually trade the S&P 500 though, that's why. So taking a look at the Dow has resistance. The DIA ETF, that is, the Dow Jones ETF has resistance right here around 156.25. Right, if we can continue to grind high like we're doing right now, we are going to have some slight resistance at this 154 area from the little breakdown that we had from this little range. But if we get back above 154 and we start holding, you got to get ready for this thing to start making a move back up towards the highs of the year. Okay. Now let's take a look at a couple things here. The VIX, I want to look at the VIX. Again, every time we break over 16, has trouble holding above 16. Better yet, every time we break above 19 when we're up there, has trouble trying to hold above 19 as well. And is this going to be a lower pivot high from these highs? This high, lower pivot high right here? We'll see. Again, the key reference levels that we're watching on the volatility index. Okay, the VIX stays above 1350. We expect there could be still some more uncertainty in the market, but in all reality, if we break back below 1350, we're going to be looking for this VIX to move back down towards 12 and pretty much no fear in the market. If I'm not mistaken, for the whole Syria action that's going on right now, they have, this morning there was an announcement that came out saying that Russia and the US have came to some agreement where pretty much next week they're going to go into Syria with the inspectors and look at their chemicals and destroy them and all this stuff. If everything comes to plan, that's going to be the game plan for those guys with the whole Russia and the U.S. And if not, then there's gonna be some problems. If they don't find anything, or they don't get what they want, or if they're not allowed to inspect a certain area, there's gonna be some problems. I have to read more up on it, but as you guys know, the Syria action is definitely affecting the market on a day-to-day basis. When you have some congressman or some, uh, some official goes on TV and says something about Syria, it does move the market. So you definitely want to kind of at least gauge that action to see how it's affecting the markets. But in any case, let's go and take a look at these currencies. Euro, USD. Remember, we're going to look at some stock charts here shortly. Let me just finish going through this analysis. Euro USD currency action. Just looking at the daily chart on this. All right, last week the euro was pretty strong. Nice, opened up down here on Monday, closed up here on Friday. That's what we needed to know. Where market for the euro was strong, and we're holding above that key 132 level. Next resistance level is around 134. Let's go and take a look at the US dollar to see what's going on here. And the action in the US dollar. All right, I'm still in the camp of the US dollar moving all the way back down. All right, I'm still in the camp of the US dollar. All right, 1 second. I'm still in the camp of the US dollar. Um, making looking towards making its way down to this bottom band down there from the range. All right, so going to be looking out for the dollar to make another move lower potentially next week. That's unless we form a higher pivot on top of this trend line break from these lows right here and start moving back to the top side. Then we'll gauge that as well. We don't trade the currencies, but we do look to see how they trade and how they correlate with the different other market sectors and asset classes and everything. So keep an eye on the dollar and the euro and that VIX. Let's go and take a look at some commodities now, starting off with gold. The gold futures chart is what I want to look at. They were down slightly on Friday. They recovered off those lows though, and you can see we're back underneath that key 1350 level. If we continue to hold below 1350, you want to expect that they're going to try to mark this gold chart all the way back down towards the first level support, which would be down here about towards 1280. We break below 1280. We have 1220. Then we have the little pivot low right here around 1180 resistance. Right now is currently around the 1400 area, I would say, and then the highs up here around 1430. It looks like, and we did break that little uptrend line as well in gold. You have a little upward channel break action going on right here, so we'll see how that plays out. Taking a look at the weekly chart of gold. Weekly chart of gold rallied up, reversal move back down. The monthly chart of gold bounced off that 1200 level, rallied back up, and we could be putting in a lower pivot high here. We'll see. We are still below that key 1500 level, which was holding as a nice support level for the past, for the prior 2 years or so plus. Taking a look at crude oil. Crude oil is still looking pretty strong. It's pulling back a little bit right now. Some of the tensions over there in Syria, of course, have died out, and some of that momentum from that, some of that news brought some of the momentum in this crude oil move here, along with this little tech, how it was pretty much set up technically to break out this little triangle pattern. So we're going to be watching this crude oil as well. You can see as long as it holds above 97.50, that's pretty good. At the same time, if you go to your weekly chart, you can see the crude oil is trying to form a little bull flag up here. We have a little break. Instead of giving an official back test, which you try to back test, but it actually stops right in front of the trend line, in front of the level. So we have a nice little up move, sideways consolidation right here, and as long as we can hold above, say, 108, you got to expect crude to start grinding sideways to higher. Everything still looks pretty much intact there. Take a look at the weekly chart. You can see they're chopping it up around the 108 level. Above it, they're buying it. Below it, they're selling it. Above it, they're buying it. Below it, they're selling it. So this is a little median or mean to reversion line right now here, uh, at least for the short term here, as it's been since the past 2 weeks. You can see. So keep an eye on crude oil. Let's go ahead and take a look at copper. All right, copper. And excuse me if I'm, out of line in some of the video, jumping all over the place. Again, I have not done a week in review video in a while, so I'm just getting back in the tune with things. So the next week in review video will be better, than the following one will be even better. Then I should be back on point with how I was delivering the videos before. But aside from that, copper's in a range, sideways action between 340 and 305, so a little 35-cent range in copper. And right now it's at a potential backtest area from the channel, from the range that it broke out of back here. So we'll see how that plays out. Now let's go ahead and talk about some stocks. I'm seeing some weakness in the financials. You can go ahead and take a look at the XLF. Right, we'll take a look at the XLF on the monthly. The monthly chart still intact. Again, it's trading sideways right now, as you can see here in the range. So we've got to zoom into our smaller time frame, the 15 minutes, see what's actually going on here. And what you can see, we have a nice little upward channel. We got rejected the first time, pulled back in, rallied back up, got rejected the second time. At the same time, we're making those higher highs, and we are still making these higher lows. So the trend is still up. You can even draw a 50% trend line here and say, okay, we're above the 50. Everything's still looking pretty fine and dandy. And we're holding these key short-term moving averages here. Now, when I look at the daily chart, I know that this key reference level to watch here on the daily chart of the XLF is this 2020 area. Remember, resistance, resistance. We broke above it, so support. We held above this whole time, broke back below it, resistance, resistance, and now we're chopping around that area. Holding above 2020, then taking out these highs from last week should give some nice momentum to the market. Then we're going to have resistance level on the XLF around 2040, which is just right there from this little breakdown, from the little breakdown that came in right here. So be on the lookout for that. Again, Goldman Sachs got added to the Dow Jones. That caused it to gap up on what was that, Tuesday, and now it's holding this gap. Could trade sideways a bit and then try to make a move higher. At the same time, could come back and try to fill that gap fill, and which will find support somewhere around the 159.75 area or so. JP Morgan has not been trading strong. This is definitely a bank that you have to pay close attention to. But this bank has not been trading strong at all compared to the other financials. So if the financials do get weak, this is one that you may want to look to short. You take a look at the weekly chart. The weekly chart uptrend still intact, of course. The monthly chart uptrend still intact. We did have a bad month last month, a little outside bar of the prior 2 weeks before this bar here. And then this week we had an inside bar. So keep an eye on JP Morgan. It is looking like the sore thumb in the financial group at the moment. Let's take a look at Citigroup. Citigroup, see Citigroup, a little slight up week. We opened up down here. We closed right here. Take a look at the weekly chart. Little slight up week. Resistance we have around 53. Short-term supports down here around 48 or so. Looks interesting. I mean, we did break and close slightly above the previous 3 weeks worth of trading action right there. Those highs around 50. What's this? 50.30. We closed at 50.50. So we'll see how that plays out. Citigroup though, a nice little up move right now off this little pivot low right here. Again, the financials do not look like the sector that you want to be in right now. A lot of technology stocks are moving. Like we've been talking about this stock in the chat room for the past couple of days. ACAM, we called it. We actually been tracking it since Monday. But you can see here ACAM, nice little resistance level, nice little cup action right here with the little sideways range handle, that breakout. You know, these are bullish patterns. These are the patterns that you see those breaking out. They look pretty good. And if you go to a weekly chart now, you can see a nice little clean breakout over 48. The next target on this thing's back up here towards 54. So it still has about $3 more to the upside. Keep that one on your radar. Monthly chart. All right, it's coming back into this key 200-day moving average around 53.70. I like the chart. Looks pretty good. Some other strong stocks, CMG, some large cap stocks, right? These high price stocks that a lot of traders watch them to see how to gauge kind of the market strength, right? This is a leader stock right now. CMG, look at it. Right, while the market's chopping around, or while the market was selling off, this one was trading sideways. So it means when the market does catch a nice bid, this thing's going to go much higher. Now you could trade this one. I know it's high price, so you can trade it via options, buy some calls, maybe do some vertical call spreads, sell some puts. A lot of opportunity here in the stock if this thing holds up. Again, the highs on this stock is around 40.40. And if you take a look at the monthly chart, it's already kind of hanging above this key resistance level that we had right here around 420 that you can see clearly on the monthly chart. On the weekly chart, you can see where that action comes from that little wick right there. So this thing definitely has some more room to go up towards 440. Nice little tight range that we just broke out of this week off that up move. CMG, I like it. Looks pretty good. Strong stock, leading stock, one of the leaders in the market right now. I would say CMG. Let's see here. FFIV, I like how this name's looking. It's setting up pretty nice. All right, setting up pretty nice. Nice little inside bar. Tight action. 60-minute chart looks good. If you take a look at the weekly chart, nice weekly chart, up move, move back down, pivot low, two follow through weekly buy bars on the weekly. Let's take a look at the monthly. All right, monthly's outside the prior month's body, and it should be making its way towards those highs. So keep an eye on FFIV. FFIV looks pretty good. The casino names are pretty strong. LVS, nice up move, a little bit extended right here, but it is grinding using these key short-term moving averages, which is a 5 and 8 as support. So keep an eye on this name. Could be gearing up for a move outside of this little sideways consolidation that it had from Tuesday to Friday. Again, MGM, these names are strong, of course, as well. MGM, you can see nice uptrend. Wind, nice uptrend. So a lot of bullish action in the casinos. We also had a lot of bullish action this week in healthcare. I mean, take a look at was it Pfizer? Not Pfizer. I think it was it J&J Pfizer, or was it Procter Gamble? Or the biotech stocks did pretty well. Look, see Procter Gamble, nice little action this week. Some nice wide range bars, a lot of opportunity this week in Procter Gamble. But either way, I mean, aside from that, you have stocks like REGN, breaking out. Look at this REGN. This was a nice little powerful stock. Take a look at the weekly chart. Nice clean action there. Take a look at the monthly chart. Nice wide range bar there. Pretty strong stock. REGN. You had Amgen. It's back above the price that it was at before it announced that ONX bid. So now it's back up there and looks like it wants to go back up here towards these highs. Another strong stock. Another strong stock that you should keep on your radar. Intel, for the semiconductor stocks. Let's go ahead and talk about those names, right? Intel, nice buy bar on Friday. I believe they were upgraded on Friday, but nice little break of the little downward trend line. Rallied up from that little higher pivot low that we talk about, that we teach, all right, to how to enter a nice little trend line break or a channel break, whatever. And now you have a nice little move up. So it looks pretty good. Resistance is around this 2350 area, but we break above 2350. We have a nice little gap fill around 24 and a quarter or so. I like that name. Looks pretty clean. What else? Apple. Technology stocks we're looking at right now. Apple, got smacked down this week from the conference. They didn't reach investors' expectations. So these institutions, they unloaded some shares, they downgraded the stock and got marked down lower, and it could be going much lower. We'll have to wait and see. But either way, Apple, weekly chart, all right, big outside bar that took over the prior 1, 2, 3 weeks worth of action there, just about. And it looks like it wants to head down towards 456. Taking a look at the monthly chart, uptrend is still intact, of course, right? We haven't broken these pivot lows at all. We made these highs. We haven't made a higher high yet, but though the uptrend is still intact. And again, if we hold above 450, that would be good. If we start trading, if Apple starts trading back below 450, right, that means it could go back down inside this little range right here. That would not be good at all. Okay. Amazon, another high price stock here that has not been able to catch a bid that much. I mean, lately it caught a bid about 2 weeks ago, but ever since it came out with this good earnings right here, or let's see, well, ever since it came out with those earnings, I'm not sure if the numbers were good or not. I would have to go back and look. But ever since it came out with these earnings, it has not been able to hold a bid above this 300 level. So if Amazon can hold a bid above 300 next week, we'll be looking for this one to trade sideways to higher as well. If not, if this area chops around, then we start holding below 298. I'll be looking for Amazon to pull back in. A name that you want to have on your radar if the technology stocks are strong next week, as it could easily go back up towards those highs. What else? Visa, strong stock. All right, got added to the Dow Jones. Nice little bar here. Should get some follow through action on Monday. Let me take a look at the hourly chart real quick. And nice little sideways moving at the hourly here. Up, sideways. Could get some nice buying pressure Monday morning. We'll see how that plays out. But aside from that, folks, I mean, there's action across the board on all these different names. I mean, some of the material stocks that broke out last week or so, or earlier this week, they pulled back a bit late in the week. But we're going to keep a close eye on these names. Um, and we're going to see how they do. The energy sector was pretty decent as well. So aside from that, I have some more ideas come Monday morning. Make sure you make it to our chat room. We've been coming across some good trades. We caught some Baidu action. Oh, let's go ahead and talk about that real quick here. Baidu, the Chinese stocks are trading pretty strong. Baidu, nice breakout of a 145. If you didn't catch the first initial move that happened pretty fast on Wednesday, it gave you a nice little breakout and then gave you an opportunity to get in on a bull flag at around 145 on this day, and it made a move all the way up towards 148. And right now it's pulling back on low volume, as you can see here. So this is expected to go higher. As long as we can hold above 141 half, should consolidate a bit, and then we try to make look for a move higher. You can also take a look at Cena. It's not trading as strong as Baidu, but Cena, Baidu's moving. You always want to make sure you bring up Cena. You can also take a look at Sohu. Sohu trading in the range, can't break past the 68 area. And let's see what the stock is doing. Again, I'm just getting back into the groove of these weekend review videos, so bear with me a bit here, people. And then they have NTS, which is another Chinese ADR, which is doing nothing right now, trading sideways. So that's about it, folks. Again, the financials showed a little bit of weakness this week. Technology sector was pretty decent. The consumer discretionary and services sector did pretty well. Healthcare was pretty decent along with biotech. Utilities were kind of mixed across the board. Energy stocks were a little bit weak this week, if I'm not mistaken, a little mixed across the board. Agriculture stocks caught a nice little bid. Solar stocks are catching a little bit of a bid right now as well. You can take a look at CSIQ, or not CSIQ, I think it's TSL. Yeah, CSIQ looks a little bit interesting right here, consolidating above this prior resistance in this little range. And then the reason why I'm looking at CSIQ, because if you take a look at um, TSL, TSL is looking pretty good. Nice little power uptrend holding this moving average right here. Nice little higher close there. And then I like how the 60-minute chart looks as well. Nice up move, sideways consolidation. This thing could be gearing up for a move on Monday back up towards these highs. And I believe it all had to do with Solar City getting a contract this week. SCTY. All right, they had an announcement where they got a contract on Tuesday morning. They announced that, and the stocks had a nice little up move that day, chopped around sideways, and may fade back down a bit. But keep an eye on the solar stocks. They look like they may try to get another rotation back to the top side. Aside from that, folks, sorry if the video was a little bit too long here, but I wanted to make sure I get you guys something out this weekend. Next video will be a little bit shorter, and it will be much better. Have a great weekend, folks. Take care.